Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome to the political economy of East Asia. I hope everyone is doing well today. During this session we are going to discuss about the Asian financial crisis that happened in the region in 1997 to 1998. This crisis has been very significant in shaping the economic, politics, and social trajectory of the region, especially in East Asia and Southeast Asia. Uh, the crisis, especially for Indonesia, has been uh, very important trajectory because for us in Indonesia, that time has changed the future of Indonesia in terms of economy as well as politics. After that, our life has changed so much in terms of how the policy has been created, how people had gathered, the freedom of politics, and also the very fundamental change in our financial and economic policies. But there are three important aspects that raise to very important questions. The first, what happened during the crisis actually, and second, what are the impacts of the 1997-1998 financial crisis towards most countries in East Asia, and third, what does the crisis means for East Asia? These three questions we are going to address during this session. Let's look at one by one. First, what actually happened at the time? Even though Indonesia has suffered, I think, the most during the crisis, especially, what the obvious implication was that we have what we know now as a political reform. The implication towards the change of our political life, where the people are gathered and ask for the fundamental change in our political system. But that's actually part of the very much changes in our economic situation, where the price of production, staff, as well as our currency has been very weak compared to the US dollars. But we have to look at how the crisis has started. The crisis actually started in Thailand. At the time, the financial policy of Thailand has been very suffered because of the bubble economy at the time, and also suddenly the currency, baht currency, has been devaluated compared to the US dollars. At the time, bank as well as financial policy is not able to face the crisis situation and caused to the devaluation of baht to the US dollars. The implication of that is not only cost towards most of the economy in Thailand, but also spread toward many countries in the region, in East Asia and Southeast Asia. Countries like South Korea, Japan, and in Southeast Asia, countries like Malaysia, the Philippines, and especially Indonesia has also suffered through the crisis. The question is why that happened. Through globalization, where the production, economic integration, as well as financial, global economy, where the finance also link each other, where domestic companies also very dependent towards foreign capital, foreign investment. That has very much explained where at the time when the crisis happened in Thailand, the psychology of investors and foreign capital has been very shocked. Many investors, many capital that moved around the region has been faced by the panic situation. The result of that panic, the massive and fast outflow of capital from the region to outside the region. So it caused, not only the panic of situation, but towards the production, where many companies suffered from the loss of many capital, which actually should support the actual production, and that's resulted to the devaluation of currency and the increase of price in many countries. For example, the currency of rupiah in Indonesia at the time plugged to 80%. You can imagine how bad the situation were. The inflation, one of the result of that situation. Many countries, like for example in East Asia, South Korea, the inflation was 7.51%. Thailand also increased to 8% of inflation, and Indonesia, I think, the worst of many countries, which reached to 78% of inflation. That's caused by many aspects. One of that caused by the devaluation of the currency. For example, before the crisis in 1997, the crisis happened in the mid of 1997. Just a couple of weeks before that, our rupiah compared to the US dollars only 2,600, but a couple of weeks and months later it increased to 10,000, then the next day to 12,000, and in 1998, I think in May 1998, our currency has devalued to 15,000 until 16,000. So you can imagine how bad the price of rupiah and the increase the price of production and stuff. So basically, people are suffered from the loss of the currency and the increase of price. So what the crisis impacts toward many countries in East Asia, the impact of the crisis is not only in economy but also in politics. Generally speaking, towards the political situation, many people in the region has demanded for more transparency and more democratic political system that happened in South Korea, where at the time also in the time of the presidential election. So many people are asking for more democratic situation and more transparency in dealing with so many policies, including economy. But the huge impact of the crisis is absolutely in economy, where many countries experience the very difficult challenge in dealing with the crisis. For South Korea, for example, I think the country has experienced the heaviest impacts of the crisis, ranging from the decline of currency, the inflation, and also the economic slowdown. Compared to any countries in East Asia, South Korea has suffered the most because suddenly after the crisis, it's suddenly impact the South Korean economy. Japan also suffered the crisis, but not many research or people are talking about Japan, because the situation in Japan before the crisis has also quite bad. During 1990s, Japan's economy has been stagnated and it's a bit slowed down after the peak of economic massive increase in 70s and 80s. During 1990s, Japan has experienced a slowdown in its economy, and the crisis has caused even slower of the economy. For even though we understand that Japan still become the major player in terms of economic production and economic expansion, while China and Taiwan, both countries relatively facing a small impact of of the crisis, more impact actually on the external economy, especially in export, especially for China. During 1990s, the country has started to increase its economy expansion through export. So what the crisis means actually for many countries in the region. In general, the crisis has shocked many countries. In other words, the crisis actually became a wake-up call for many countries, even for countries like Japan. The reality that many countries in the region are vulnerable, become a wake-up call because they really understand at the time how bad was the situation. That all countries are vulnerable towards the potential danger of a integrated global economy through globalization. Globalization actually, a system where many countries in the region have been, benefited, and they actually enjoy the integration towards a global economy. But the bad impact of globalization as a result of the fast and uncontrolled of economy has also caused a vulnerability towards many countries. The second wake-up call was that the awareness that many countries in the region understand that they actually have limited capabilities in dealing with economic crisis, whether in regional or global stage. That when the crisis happened, they have understandable that they actually very limited capacity to deal with that, because the massive scale of the crisis, not only in national level but also regional and global level. And the third wake-up call was that the dilemma in terms of policy approach, that countries also facing the difficult decision in which what sort of strategic policies that should being adopted or should being embraced by the government, or the policy that should being avoided. One of interesting fact is that during the crisis, that international economic player like International Monetary Fund and the US government has been very much interested in responding to the crisis by providing assistance, especially to Korea, Japan, and in Southeast Asia countries like Indonesia and Malaysia also have been faced sort of dilemma through their engagement to the international economic integration. That's why sort of three wake-up call has been a very important meaning for many countries in the region. So I think that's all for today's topic. See you next time.